Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to first thank our wonderful community and our supporters here today. More than community members, supporters, but they're partners of ours. The Hagerstown Police Department and our partners work very, very hard together. We work together hand in hand collaboratively to help make our communities and our community here in the city of Hagerstown safe and resilient. So I want to discuss our current incident with you today, and I just kind of want to give you an overview of what transpired from our perspective. As you probably have already seen our body-worn camera videos that we've posted. But let me just say a few things, is that officers throughout this country and our community are often placed in very difficult decisions each and every day. It's their job to act in the interest of our community, and they are trained to make those decisions and do it to the best of their ability. In this case we're going to speak about today, the officers applied their training and responded within the guidelines of the Hagerstown Police Department and policy, and used the appropriate level of force under the circumstances to gain control of a juvenile who was not being cooperative with us, as you've probably seen in the body-worn camera videos. Let me just say specifically, as an agency head, I have the authority to release the video camera footage, the body-worn camera video footage, pursuant to Senate Bill 930. I used and exercised that authority because it was very important to me when our mayor and city council gave us the ability to procure the body-worn cameras, which we have instituted throughout our Oral Patrol Division. It was also important to me, as I told them during city council hearings, having body-worn camera footage is very important to us to build trust and to show transparency. So as we did that, I wanted to make sure very quickly is when this situation unfolded, because clearly I saw on social media and other places that there were a number of different misnomers and mistruths that were being characterized regarding this particular incident. I want to make sure that we were proactive and we were able to get the whole story out there for us. Extremely important for us and the community to see exactly how we behaved and what we did. So using transparency, without being asked or prompted from anybody else in the community or the media, we released the video. We worked very hard. Because of his juvenile, we had to redact the face of the juvenile in accordance with state law, and we did the best we could to do that. But we thought in the interest of public safety in our community, we had to release it. And we did so. So let me just kind of give you a timeline of the events as they occurred on September 18th, approximately 2:30 p.m. We received a 911 call from a citizen regarding a traffic accident. He relayed to us and to our communication center that he was struck in his driver's door by a bicyclist, and he was worried that she was hurt. He notified he notified HPD, the Hagerstown Police Department, and Fire and Medical Services to respond. Fire and Medical Services respond as we did. They were there first before we got to the scene. Subsequently, during our investigation, on-scene officers arrived. We talked to the driver of the vehicle. We were able to glean what transpired. The traffic accident was at North Locust Street and Randolph. The juvenile bicyclist was traveling down Randolph Street towards Locust. The vehicle was traveling on North Locust Street, had the green signal. The juvenile on the bicycle failed to obey the traffic device and struck the driver in the driver's door. That was what prompted us to arrive on the scene. Subsequent to that, once we came on the scene, we were trying to glean the facts. Our officers responded to where the juvenile was, as you saw in the body-worn camera video. She refused medical treatment by fire and community rescue services. She's a juvenile again. She's 15 years old. We responded to go speak to her regarding what happened, and as you saw in the body-worn video, we attempted to talk to her. She was on her bicycle. We wanted to speak to her about the information. We needed to get her identity Again, we are actively involved in a traffic accident, which we have the authority and we are mandated to investigate when we came there. We had property damage on the accident. We want to speak to her regarding the circumstances of that accident. We went to go talk to her. Initially, she drove away from us. She was on her bicycle. We asked, we needed to get her information. We need to notify her parents, etc. She became uncooperative. And as you can see in the body-worn camera video, went to speak to her. She didn't want to speak to us. She became assaultive to us and combative regarding that particular situation. Both officers on the scene were well over 200 pounds. If you saw also is that they used restraint. They tried to de-escalate. They tried to talk to her. They tried to talk to her. But let me just say this, she's not free to leave. Whether you're 15 or 50 years old, you're involved in a traffic accident, you have to make your identity known. Any individual, regardless of age, that's involved in that accident, they have to make their identity known, especially when there's property damage and or injury. We attempted to talk to her and just get information so we could proceed with our on-scene investigation. Again, she was uncooperative, and you can see in the videos, the officers tried to hold her and talk to her. After we tried to talk to her and she drove away from us, she was not free to leave at that point in time. You know, we had to investigate a traffic accident pursuant to state law. Subsequently, she pulled away from us, and you can see what I call almost a dance. She's moving around in circles, and the officers are trying to grab hold of her and control the situation. The last thing we wanted to do, and the officers are trained, is to use the minimal amount of force necessary to bring any situation of force under control. She again attempted to resist. We wanted to control, and you can see the officers asking her repeatedly, stop, stop resisting. They never took her to the ground. They kept her up. They recognized the fact that she was a juvenile. Subsequently, she is resisting our attempts to get information, and we tried to handcuff her. That took some effort, but mind you, we have two over 200-pound officers, right there. We did not at all use excessive amount of force to bring her under control. We tried to handcuff her. We went towards the curb and then ultimately to the wall. As purported was in some social media outlets that she was slammed against the wall. Never happened. She was placed against the wall. She went towards the wall. The video evidence is clear in that particular case. Ultimately, we want her to get to calm down. Again, you'll see repeatedly we're asking her to calm down, to please stop. She didn't do that. We had her sit down. We tried to keep her to sit down. She kept on standing up. Subsequent to that, she stood up again, and we're asking repeatedly. We wanted her information regarding her parents, so we can contact her parents, so we can deal with the situation. What's important to understand is that when you look at the furtive movements of the officers and you look at those things, is that at no time did they take her to the ground. Did they take her to the ground? They recognized the fact that she is a juvenile. We didn't want to use that level of force. They were professional in their renderings, in their voices, and in their actions. You didn't see any unprofessional behavior or language in that particular case. She stood back up when she was against the wall. Ultimately, again, we tried to use our best adult tone to try to calm the situation down. When we stood her back up, she again was uncooperative. At that point in time, she kicked us, she kicked officers, and you'll see in some of the body footage, she kicked us multiple times. She kicked one of the officers in his body camera, which turned the camera off. Prior to that, just so you know, too, you'll see that she had her shoe off, that she kicked off when she was kicking at us. The officer leaned down. She asked for her shoe. The officer leaned down very nicely and professionally, gave her shoe to put back on. That's when the second video comes on. The second video shows the officers arriving on the scene, and then they see her carrying, they see the other two officers carrying her to the cruiser. One's carrying her in the back, one's carrying her by her legs, which is by policy and procedure and how we're trained. We don't carry people upside down. We don't drag them. We carry them in the most logical way that's possible so we don't have injury to anybody. We take her to the vehicle, put her in the vehicle. At that point in time, she's still being resistive to us. She's kicking. Officers are talking to her. You'll see one of our sergeants that is talking to her, and he says very clearly, "Let me help you," multiple times. "Let me help you. We just want to talk to your parents. We need your information. Please cooperate." She doesn't want to have any of that. She says some very choice words about his death. I wish you, I think it was, I hope you die, and those type of things. That's okay. Police officers have thin skin, but that's still part of this whole situation. He leans in the vehicle. At that point in time, we have a lot of people on the scene. We need to remove her from the scene and take care of the situation at hand. As you'll see the sergeant leaning in the car, and he's trying to put her legs in the vehicle. She's kicking. She's keeping her legs stiff. She won't allow us to do that. Subsequent to that is that one of the officers on the scene said a couple times, I believe it was 3 times, "Please stop or we'll spray you with OC spray." At that point in time, the officer told the sergeant, he said, "Sergeant, I will spray." He warned her multiple times, and then he released one burst of OC spray. Not multiple bursts as reported. He released one burst according to our policy and procedure. Now, let me just clear something up for you regarding our use of OC spray. Our use of force continuum in our policy is that, number one, we use the minimum amount of force necessary to bring any suspect, defendant, or person we come in custody with. The minimum amount of force here, we had choices and we had options. Wasn't an option for us, police officers, to physically go back in that car, and we have a divider. So just so you know, in the transport vehicle, the back of the car is divided. So the back seat is split, so there's no way to go to the other door and try to move her over. So I just want to give you that visual. But wasn't an option for us, at that point in time. Now, to get physical and use everything we can in our might to put her legs back in that vehicle, we have to close the door. We have to leave the scene. We have to proceed with our on-scene investigation, and we have to process this case. That didn't happen, So the officers made a decision is that, okay, what is the least intrusive means to get her in that vehicle? They used OC spray. We believed that physically going in there could have caused much more harm than using a chemical irritant to get her to comply with us. That's what happened. Subsequent to that, we pushed her, put her back in the car. We were able to take her to the station from on scene on Locust Street and Randolph. It took approximately 4 minutes to get to the station. We got to the station, brought her in the station, processed her. In about 8 to 10 minutes, roughly about 8 minutes after that, she was becoming cooperative with us. We were able to decontaminate the irritant, which is usually water applied to the face, which is our protocol. We've trained our officers in minor medical and trauma issues that we deal with. We do that as pattern and practice and policy from all of our cases where we use OC spray. We give them the opportunity to flush their face, and we were able to do that. Subsequent to that, she was processed for the charges that we had, disorderly conduct, 2 counts of second-degree assault, and possession of marijuana. In that traffic accident report, she was also cited for failing to obey a signal device. And that's what we have. Let me just say this as a statement and something that I truly believe as a law enforcement professional. I've been in law enforcement for almost 27 years. Every time we use a level of force, regardless whether we are justified or not, we lose. That's just my feelings. When we can bring someone into compliance by using means and oftentimes communication, that happened. that's we win. We win that particular situation. Policing, sometimes the actions that we take aren't pretty, and sometimes they can look a little ugly. When someone's carried down the street at 2:30 in the afternoon, it doesn't look great. When someone is OC sprayed, it doesn't look great for us. Sometimes our actions, again, they don't look pretty. But they followed policy and pattern and procedure for the Hagerstown Police Department. With that, I'm more than happy to answer some of your questions. One sec.
What some people are saying, this is a juvenile.
Yes.
They knew she was a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
She had apparently lost consciousness after hitting that car for some 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The officers expressed some concern about her health, and that's why they said they had to detain her.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard on the tape. So if that is the case, does it make sense when you're concerned about a brain injury
Mm-hmm.
to wrestle somebody into custody, to put the handcuffs on, throw them up, put her on the ground, pick her up? I mean, all those things could potentially, and spraying pepper spray, all those things could potentially exacerbate a brain injury if that's what you were concerned about, couldn't they?
Well-
And could they have been an alternative, just like follow her home or something? She was on a bike, they were in patrol cars.
Well, let me just say this is about, your question regarding brain injury. We had no information regarding that particular case of brain injury. We didn't have any information from CRS or the fire department. They said she refused treatment. She said she was fine. The officer that you're referring to that was speaking to the citizen when we were putting in the cruiser came there after the scene, after the fact, and he was talking to them is that in normal circumstances, as an adult or a juvenile, when someone's injured, they can refuse treatment. They can certainly refuse treatment. That's perfectly fine. We always try to make a recommendation that they go seek treatment if they choose to do that. In this particular case, the two officers that approached her on the bicycle, and you can hear them clearly say, you're not free to leave because it's an active investigation. To your point, could we have followed her home? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. How do we know where she's going to go? How do we know what she's going to do? How do we know she's not going to get away with us? I think we have her in our control then. She have her in our purview. It's reasonable and prudent that we keep her there, period. Next question, please.
You said there was one burst of the OC spray.
Yes.
That's clearly seen on the body camera video.
Yes.
But after that burst, the officer sticks the can with the can in a second time. It's not clear if he sprays it. Then, on the video that the lawyer released on Facebook, that officer opens the front passenger side door, sticks his head in. You hear a sound, it sounds like a spray. You don't see anything. Comes out, closes the door. There's only one spray seen on the video, but was she sprayed more than one time?
No, she was sprayed that one time. She was sprayed that one time. The officer sprayed the one time, and then he pushed, the aerosol canister towards the window. Did not spray that time. Sprayed one time at approximately about a 1 to 2 second burst.
What did that officer do? Lead into the front passenger side?
I'd have to look at the video a little bit more further. I don't recall that particular situation. But
The attorney says you were 4 sprays, so we're not 4 sprays?
no, there were not 4 sprays.
Even after that officer was getting inside the car?
No, sir.
back over the line?
No, sir. No, sir. The information that we had we gleaned from the video was one time.
Is there surveillance camera video of this incident?
No, we don't have any. We have no other camera regarding that incident. Yes, sir.
Can you say how often this type of pepper spray is used to get someone to comply? And then, should the door have been closed all the way? Should it have been left cracked so maybe there's a bit of ventilation there? Are you concerned about the door being closed?
Well, the door has to be closed if you're going to drive the car, sir. So the door has to be closed.
Clear it out a little bit?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to drive down the street with an open door. I think that's unreasonable.
You left immediately after that?
We left pretty quickly after that. Yes, and if you can see, the window was down. The window was down. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said we had to continue the investigation. She was on the scene, she was staying there on the scene, and
Yeah.
started walking away with that.
Yes.
Why not just leave her there instead of putting her in the car?
Well, after the point we tried to bring her under control and ask her not to leave, Then she became assaultive to us. She struck us. She kicked us. At that point in time, it changed the dynamic of the whole situation. So that's why. But let me just say this. Had we had cooperation, our goal has always been, if we would have had her information and we were able to call her parents to the scene, we would have clearly had them been there, and we would have adjudicated that right then. We would have released her to her parents, and we would have been done with it. We had enough. We want the information for the report. Again, we have a traffic accident. We have to share information with both parties. It's not an option. Just like it wouldn't be an option for you if you wanted to leave. If you didn't make your identity known as an adult, we would stop you. And if you didn't make your identity known, then ultimately we'd place you under arrest for leaving after colliding if you left. She was leaving after an accident. She wouldn't talk. She wouldn't continue to speak to us.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Sure it is.
And you second guess on that.
Mhm.
If you looked at this again, would you have done this exactly the same way? Was there not some opportunity to de-escalate the situation? For instance, calling Zach on his day off and getting him to talk to her on the phone.
You know what? You said something very important, hindsight. Okay. I think anytime you look at any situation, you could Monday morning quarterback anything. This is a development opportunity for us. There may have been some things that, we can learn from or we can grow from. But the actions regarding policy and procedure were correct, and they were within our guidelines. When you talk about hindsight, yes, everybody can look at any situation we have in law enforcement and second guess what they should do. But I will say this, in Graham versus Connor, in Supreme Court ruling around the leading case in use of force, is that it's objectively reasonable, objective reasonableness. What would an objective reasonable officer do on the scene? Oftentimes, officers have to make split-second decisions, not through the guise of 20/20 hindsight. Next. What's that? She did not go to the hospital. We didn't. I don't know any information from her lawyer. We did not take her to the hospital.
Did officers give any information to the medical personnel at the hospital?
We never went to the hospital, sir.
Did officers give information to medical personnel who were at the hospital?
No, we never went to the hospital. We were never called to the hospital. She was never transported to the hospital by HPD. Next question.
You said that this is a development opportunity. What have you learned from this?
Well, I think what we're going to do is, and we kind of call in the business, we'll hot wash everything we did, all the circumstances. Could we, look at communication, level of communication that we may have? I think the officers acted appropriately, but again, we're going to look at it and see if there's a development opportunity in every particular case regarding that. Pardon me, whoever's that was from your station. So we'll look at it again. I don't know the specific developmental opportunities or professional opportunities, but that's something we do in everything we do, good or bad. We want to look at everything, and we want to critique every action we do, because things that we do in the police department, if we do them good, we want to do them better. If we do them bad, we want to rectify those situations. So the development opportunity for us is ongoing and it's perpetual, and that's very important.
Hey, two procedure questions.
Sure.
One is, when the officer discharges his weapon, it's easy to see how many bullets were used.
Yes.
Use of pepper spray, is there a similar way to monitor how much was discharged? Because one release can be a whole can.
Well, yes, and that's a very good question. Under normal policies, what happens when you use OC spray? It weighs, say, 6 ounces. It weighs whatever amount it weighs. Normally, part of policy and procedure is to weigh the canister after the use of pepper spray, so you can kind of get a gauge of how much it used. Very good question, and that'll be part of the investigative report for us.
And a quick body cam question.
Yes.
Do your officers have to activate their cameras prior to a situation like this, or are they always rolling?
No, well, they're always buffering. There's always a 30-second buffering for it. And let me just say this about body cameras. The technology, body cameras are in its infancy. It's very new technology, and it's something that, again, I said I'm very happy that we have body cameras, but they're always buffering. So what happens, and you probably heard in the body-worn camera videos, you'll see a beep twice. Now, we have an audio beep, and we have a visual beep on it. So to activate it, and you probably saw on the cameras too, and if you look at it again, you'll see the officer kind of have his hand towards his chest. He'll double tap on the round button here and turn on the camera. and that's, but again, every camera manufacturer, there's multiple camera manufacturers in the country. So that's what we did. Good questions, thank you.
Has the use of force investigation?
No, it has not. It's still ongoing. We still, we want to glean all the witnesses. We want to talk to all the fire department personnel, and we haven't concluded it as yet.
And are the officers still on regular active duty?
They are on regular active duty. Yes, actually, we made an offer to the mother. We called the mother yesterday. I thought it was appropriate, and I directed that we make sure we made contact with her. We wanted her to come in the station, want to show the actions of our staff. It's something we did that we thought it was a very important gesture for us. I have a 15-year-old son. I understand, parents and their angst regarding their children. I thought it was important. We made her the offer. She refused. She referred us to her attorney.
What did she says at one point, that her father's watching a football game.
Yes.
She says at another point, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what motivated her existence?
Sir, I don't, and I don't want to speculate. But she said that multiple times. She said she was going to get in trouble. That's part of the video. I don't have any idea what that may be. I can't go.
She also said a couple of times, get off me, I'll tell you my name, get off me, and then I'll tell you, basically, I'll cooperate if you just back off.
Yeah.
Should the officers have backed off at that point?
Well, we did it multiple times when she was sitting down. We had multiple times. She still wasn't cooperative. Yes.
Were the officers at all injured with the kicking? Did any of them need any type of medical?
No, they didn't. Again, I said they were 200 pounds plus, one of them, and so forth. Kicked him in his chest. He didn't require any injuries or any medical treatment. It did turn off the camera, though. Yes.
So in this situation, are you saying that the only two options that you felt that the officers were given were either shoving her back in the car, which you said could have had a more dangerous effect on her, or spraying her with this OC spray? Those were the only two options?
Well, we wanted to get her in the vehicle. We wanted to remove from the scene. The scene was growing large. A lot of people were around. We didn't want to have an incident where we had a civil disturbance situation there. We thought it was prudent, number one, to remove her from the scene at that point. In my opinion, you have those two options. You can physically restrain her and push her in there, which I believe would have been certainly a more heavy-handed response than using OC spray to change that behavior, and using that chemical irritant. That's our opinion.
Can I go back for 1 minute? So you're saying that the issue was not a refusal of treatment, and as Robin Vickers said, she had the right to refuse treatment. You're saying that the issue was impeding the investigation.
Anybody has the right to refuse medical treatment. An adult can refuse medical treatment; they can walk away. A juvenile, as we had here in policy and practice, in almost every law enforcement agency, the one I was involved in, I spent 25 years with the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington. I understand that, but a juvenile, our position has been in those particular cases that if a juvenile refuses, she's a minor person or a minor child. However, think of this fact is that she refuses, and say she goes right around the corner and she bumps her head or has an aneurysm or does whatever it may be. I don't think that's a good tact. But our tact, if you saw in the first video, was that she's being detained because we're conducting an on-scene investigation regarding the accident. That was number one.
But so you're saying that she did have the right to refuse treatment?
Oh, she has a right to refuse treatment, but we were. She had a right to refuse treatment, but we would still keep her there on the scene if she refused treatment to have an adult refuse treatment for her.
She was detained for both those reasons.
True, but primarily for the on-scene investigation.
Was she informed of her rights or what was going on and what was required of her?
We told her multiple times what we wanted. We told her multiple times, yes.
And could you imagine a different response in that situation, knowing that you have a 15-year-old girl who's been injured, who's probably very upset and frightened? Were there any other options besides physical,
Well,
chemical?
I think we acted within policy. And number one, we didn't know that, she sustained an injury. She denied, she refused treatment. She denied she had an injury. We suspected because the fire board was called, and they looked at her, she refused treatment. So we went on the auspices of that. Well, I think if you watch the video, the first video, you'll see them exercising restraint and de-escalation. They did not, look at when we talked to her initially, please stop. We tried to stop her physically by putting our hands on her. Well, I think in that particular case, I don't believe that's escalation. I think we're trying to stop her. She's trying to leave the scene. She's not free to leave the scene. We have an accident that occurred. We have to investigate. Just like you as an adult or anybody else, we would do the same thing. Yeah. Oh, I could imagine. Yes, yes. Well, that's what we were trying to do. And if you saw that, we tried to, talk to her multiple times. We just wanted to talk to your parents. I think you saw the sergeant saying, let me help you. We'll walk, I will find your father. We'll take you to your house. We tried those issues. Yes. We never gave her an interrogation and questioning regarding this particular time. She was arrested in charge, yes. We didn't ask her any questions from an investigative standpoint. No, she was not. She was not. She was put out in the open on a bench right in front of our processing area. Yes, next question.
Thank you very much, Director. Looking at, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
We're all looking at the 5 o'clock news, but go ahead.
Sure, sure.
You said she started cooperating 8 minutes into her stay at the police station. How long before 8:35?
Probably, she arrived there at 2:40, I believe it was 2:53. I write in military time, I'm used to that, so I was looking at 14:53, so 2:53, excuse me. She was there about 2:53. Parent arrived at approximately, I believe it was about 3:20, somewhere thereabouts. She left the station in less than 30 minutes. Yes, sir, I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
I was just saying, in light of, I guess, the protest that happened across the street from
Sure.
the police department yesterday, are you guys expecting more of that? Is there any preparations? Or is there any worry that anything would deteriorate with that? Or is there any thoughts on that?
Well, in my experience, I think it's prudent for us to plan for any type of protest. I will say this, is I am proud of the citizens that protested there. It's their First Amendment rights to protest. We respect that. We defend that. That's very important. They acted with restraint, and we allowed them to do what the Constitution says they can do. We're prepared. Our agency is a professional one. We're prepared to handle anything, but when people want to protest, that's fine. We want them to air their grievances in protest, if that's particularly what they have. Yes, sir.
Among your sworn officers, how many are minority or ethnic American?
I believe we have 5 African American officers on the police department. I believe that's the case. We have a sworn strength of 112. We're about 104 right now. So HPD is hiring. Any good qualified people, please. We need good professionals, and we relish their support in a career in law enforcement. With that, again, thank you for coming today, and thank you for your respectful questions. You all have a great day.